Widzu z platformy YouTube, cześć! Właśnie oglądamy po raz pierwszy zapowiedź Ligi Path of Exile, Affliction, a zaraz po nim Path of Exile 2, począwszy. Czytam to z promptera. Żartuję, nie mam promptera. To się wydnie. Lecimy!
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
We'll start with Path of Exile 2, where Jonathan will walk you through our latest announcements.
Jak kamera będzie coś zasłaniać, to
Mark will then take
zmniejszę.
you on a deep dive into the new Path of Exile Affliction Challenge League, which launches in 1 week. He'll cover the league mechanics, its rewards, some new content we're adding to the core Path of Exile experience, and some
New
large
core
metagame
content!
changes. I'll then show you our annual core supporter packs,
Metagame
and we'll head
changes?
into our live Q&A session where Ziggy
Będzie
D will
najlepsza
ask
liga na
us your
świecie.
questions from Twitch chat. After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes.
Kurwa, mamy metagame
I'd like
changes
to
i
hand
new core
over to
content.
Jonathan Rogers, Game Director of Path of Exile 2.
Hey guys, it's been a few months since we introduced you to the Druid in Path of Exile 2, but one of the things that we're really focusing on now is how varied each of the classes feels to play. The monk darts around quickly from enemy to enemy, building and unleashing combos.
No.
If he doesn't stay in combat, he loses momentum and has to build it up again.
Czyli komboski trzeba walić mnichem. Powiedzieli.
The warrior, on the other hand, is like a slow but unstoppable freight train. A warrior commits to big attacks and relies on stunning his enemies to stay safe in the thick of combat. When an opening presents itself, a warrior can use even larger attacks to demolish his enemies.
Wojownik bić! Cały gameplay.
The Huntress seamlessly moves from melee to ranged combat and back. The true damage potential of the Huntress is only unlocked when you learn to combine ranged and melee abilities together.
Będzie trzeba łączyć melee i range ataki huntreską, żeby być optymalnym.
And then there are the Spellcasters. The Sorceress is a pure caster who much prefers to stay at range and drop powerful spells on her foes. If she finds herself surrounded by enemies, she would rather use an ability to escape than to take them on directly.
Mówią, że musi być w ręczu, ale tak na
The
melee
Druid is
trochę
also
zagrałem.
a spellcaster, but unlike the Sorceress, he uses his spells as a means to support his melee abilities. And by melee abilities, we mean he can turn into a giant animal and rip his enemies to pieces.
Ale piękny jest ten niedźwiedź. Jak on się rusza. Aż człowiek w furasa się zmienia, nie?
Each of these classes feels extremely different to play, but we want to go even further. It's time to check out the Mercenary.
Nowa klasa postaci.
There I won't take.
Najemnik.
So long as the pay's good and a crossbow can solve it.
Z granatnika strzela. Zajebiście to wygląda. Będzie Kenzie.
Take 'em all down, one bolt at a time.
When thinking about each new class, we really try to think about how we can make combat feel different from all the others. For the Mercenary, that difference is the crossbow. A crossbow is fundamentally different than a regular bow because it fires instantly instead of needing to be drawn back. This means that you need
Czary.
immediate feedback.
Ale to
Clicking the
dobrze
fire
wygląda.
button should make the character shoot instantly, just like in a shooter. As soon as we experience that, we realize that there are a lot of design lessons to learn from shooters, and so we fully embraced them. In Path of Exile 2, we have crossbows that work like sniper rifles,
Snajperki,
shotguns,
shotguny
and assault rifles.
i assault rifle'ki, ale też mają skill, który wyglądał jak granatnik. Co ty gadasz w ogóle?
But in order to really get shooter-like gameplay, we wanted to go further. In Path of Exile 2, we now support WASD movement. You can now walk around in any direction independent of aiming.
Co wy na
In
chodzenie
fact, if
wsadem?
this is your preferred method of gameplay, you can use it on any class, regardless of what weapon type you're using. You can change between click to move or WASD at any time. You can only hold 2 crossbows at a time, but Path of Exile 2 is all about interesting combinations of abilities, and this is where ammo skills come in.
Remnant 2. Stab
This
down.
is a burst shot crossbow, and right now I have armor-piercing ammo equipped, which makes it very effective when facing a group of enemies, since it pierces right through them.
Bloody horrors!
But there are other ammos too. For a bigger, single target, it might be a good idea to switch to Incendiary. The more projectiles hit the target, the stronger the ignite,
Ej, od
so
razu
you'll want
chcę
to get up
przetestować
nice,
wsada.
close and personal with this one. If you have a bunch of targets running at you, you might want to slow them down. In this case, you could switch to Permafrost Burst Shot. Shooting a bunch of smaller enemies at range will chill them, and potentially even freeze them in place. Once you have some frozen enemies though, you can switch back to armor piercing. Shooting a frozen enemy with armor piercing burst shot will explode the ice, doing a huge amount of damage to all nearby enemies.
Widzowie, startuje tym Path of Exile 2, chyba że pokażą coś jeszcze bardziej pojebanego.
Another feature crossbows have is attachments. This is a grenade launcher. As you can see, when I equip it, it appears on the underside of the crossbow.
Co wy gadacie?
These attachments are just like skill gems, so you effectively get extra skill slots, and you can augment these with support gems, just like regular skills.
Co jest? Sadzasz se do broni rodzaj granatu, czy jakiegoś takiej innej amunicji specjalnej.
These grenades take a while to explode, so it's a good idea to pair them with some kind of crowd control, like permafrost burst shot.
W drugi róg daj kamerę. Okej, dam może tu. Dalej od środka ekranu.
We have other grenades too though. This attachment is a flash grenade.
Flash
It does
grenade!
barely any damage, but it does a huge amount of stun. It can be a great opener before you run into combat.
Lewy dolny zasłania HP bar.
Now, here's another attachment, an oil grenade.
Okej,
Firing one
oleisty
of these
granat.
grenades coats the ground and nearby enemies in oil. Oil slows enemies down, so it's another useful crowd control mechanic.
Czekajcie, będę mały tutaj.
Now, another thing that oil can do is be set on fire. Any burning enemy or explosion will ignite the oil, causing extra burning damage.
Ale tutaj
One
jest...
of the problems with burst shot crossbows is that each pellet doesn't do much damage individually. This means that if enemies have armor, then it will be very effective preventing that damage.
No trzeba
But
być
thankfully,
mele
you
trochę
can
wtedy
equip an
grać, nie?
additional crossbow in your second weapon set to deal with the weaknesses of your primary weapon. This is a rapid shot crossbow. Rapid shot is great for closing on enemies because you can shoot while running.
Czy to jest
In Path
realistyczne?
of Exile 2, we now have the ability to allow you to use some skills while moving. Being able to create skills like this opens up a lot of new design space and allows us to really increase the pace of combat.
Ej, stary! Czy to zajebiście wygląda? Taki karabin maszynowy w trakcie ruchu? Cesik PoE
Armor piercing
dosłownie.
version of rapid shot slowly erodes a monster's armor. Once the armor is fully broken, you can easily switch back to burst shot to deal much more damage.
Jestem zachwycony tym kusznikiem. Już pokazali 10 różnych playstylów w
Being
obrębie
able
jednej
to run
broni.
while shooting with rapid shot is also great for when you want to perform a fighting retreat.
Jedna postać ma więcej mechanik niż Diablo 4.
Using permafrost ammo with rapid shot is also useful if you need to retreat. When you shoot the ground,
Co
it clears
jest?
ice crystals. If you draw monsters back over these crystals, they explode, chilling the monsters. It's great if you want to set up a safe zone before
Ale
pulling the next
zajebiste.
hack.
I jak chłop w to wejdzie, to wybucha i go mrozi.
Slowing enemies down can come in handy if you want to use the incendiary version of rapid shot. Using this skill requires that you charge up a little bit before it fires, but as it continues to heat up, it will do more and more damage. It has a really large clip size, so you can just keep firing and firing with it. But the other really useful feature is that when the crossbow is heated up, it adds extra fire damage to any grenade that you launch.
Słuchajcie, nagrzewa mu się kusza. Jak się nagrzeje, to granat zada więcej obrażeń.
Now I've been using explosive grenades here, but it will work equally as well with flash or oil grenades too. If you use it with oil grenades, the oil will catch fire immediately.
Wolno granaty wybuchają? To prawda, ale czy one nie wybuchają, jak przeciwnik w nie wejdzie też szybciej wtedy? Ty, jedzenie mi przyszło. Kurde, w takim momencie.
Another crossbow type that you can find is power shot. This one works just like a classic sniper rifle. Use it with armor-piercing ammo and it will penetrate armor on targets, so it's a good idea to use when something's really tough.
Back down or die!
Now this skill has another interesting interaction with armor break. If an enemy has its armor broken, then your power shot hits a weak spot and does a huge amount of single target damage, with a bunch of extra stun for good measure.
Bullseye!
Now, the incendiary version of Power Shot is more like a rocket launcher. It does a big explosive blast at a distance.
Powiedzcie, co mnie minęło. Ej, a wiecie, co jest najlepsze? Że to jest darmowa gra. Że to jest darmowa gra, słuchajcie.
One of the really useful features of this version is that you can explode any grenades that happen to be on the ground.
Był pokaz snajperki? Nieudany? Czemu?
This combo also works really well with incendiary rapid shot.
Ty, to
I'm
wygląda
going
jak
to charge up
Graves,
the heat on my
dosłownie.
crossbow, shoot out a bunch of grenades, and then
co
start the
zrobił przed
fireworks
chwilą?
with a power shot.
Tak, wsadem chodzi. Mafia Graves.
The ice version of Power Shot creates frost walls at a distance. This is great for crowd controlling monsters in tight passages.
W przyszłym roku, Krzunio.
The wall segments have other uses too. If they get destroyed by monsters, then they will explode, doing a small amount of damage.
Block him in!
No tą klasą wydaje mi się, że bardzo ciężko bez wsada będzie grać. Ta snajperka piersuje, nie? W takich
Now, remember that burst shot combo with
wąskich
frozen enemies we
przestrzeniach
did
może być
earlier?
spoko.
That works with ice walls too. Let's put burst shot back on.
Okej.
Now I can fill up this area with ice walls, then shoot them with armor-piercing burst shot for a huge amount of damage.
Że zmienia ten ice wall. On działa inaczej, tak? Z inną kuszą. Fajne.
Alright, it's time to face the boss for this area. Let's see how we fare against her with all the skills I've shown you so
Słuchajcie,
far.
wyrzucę alerty z Diablo. Lizarda zaraz.
Not letting you anywhere near him.
Oj, on zestunował dosyć szybko.
No.
Ale jest zajebiście zanimowana, nie? Co jest? Wyżygała dziecko i teraz to dziecko jest jej adem.
Rapid fire!
Niechciany. Ten śmiech dzieci. No jak z Wiedźmina to dziecko. Ej, ale ten boss jest zajebiście zanimowany, nie? Jak ciacha nożycami. Tak, mała arena wymusza dodżowanie. No. Podoba mi się to, że można frizować i stanować bossy. Trilixot.
What is going on in this god's-forsaken city?
And that's the Mercenary. It feels totally different than anything we've made before, and shows you the range of what's possible in Path of Exile 2.
Ej, na mnie to zrobiło ogromne wrażenie. Zróbmy ankietę. Jak wrażenia z najemnika? Zajebiste. Po tym wydarzeniu zrobiłem ankietę wśród widzów, żeby zobaczyć, jak ich nastroje po seansie. Oto wyniki.